Gaming's very first win.
Thank you very much, guys. And I'm joined here by IG Kakao after finally a victory for Invictus Gaming. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Tell me about this game. You guys came in 0-2, and this was a very decisive game, yet it was so incredibly close, rather. What are your thoughts on the way you guys ended up playing?
이번 경기 이제 2패를 아는 상태에서 매우 중요한 경기인데 유리하게 시작했음에도 불구하고 바론 스틸로 좀 살짝 어렵게 경기를 풀어봤습니다. 이번 경기에 대해서 간단히 평가해 주세요.
초반에 되게 싸움을 많이 이겨가지고 저희가 무난하게 이길 줄 알았는데 초반 그 이득에도 불구하고 바론 스틸을 당해가지고 좀 비벼지나 싶었는데 마지막 한타에서 잘해가지고 이긴 것 같아요.
We thought this game would be pretty easy because we were pretty ahead in a lot of small fights, but the Baron steal it hurt a lot. But we managed to win the last team fight and close the game.
I hear you mentioning that you thought the game would be pretty easy once you were into it. Did you have any of those thoughts as well when you were facing Fnatic on day one and then Cloud9? And how did that match up to what you were expecting of those games?
그럼 그 이전 경기 프나틱과 이제 신년 경기할 때도 좀 어떤 기대치를 갖고 경기를 했고 그 뒤의 결과에 대해서 어떻게 생각하는지 말씀해 주세요.
유럽이나 C9이랑 경기할 때는 저희가 싸움을 걸라고 했는데 그쪽에서 되게 싸움을 안 걸고 타워 위주의 운영을 하시더라고요. 그래가지고 저희가 오늘은 좀 저희가 걸고 싶을 때 걸 수 있는 조합을 들고 나와가지고 저희 스타일대로 하니까 이긴 것 같아요.
So for the two previous games, we were trying to keep on picking fights, but they kept on like avoiding those fights and win the game through like game management and based on the towers. So for this game, we tried to base on our composition, so we can actually make the fights when we wanted to, and that's how we were able to win the game.
I also noticed that you were very, very aggressive this game, something you weren't as much in the previous ones, when in Korea you were known as being one of the best and super aggressive junglers. How come you haven't always been able to play that game?
카카오 선수 이전에 한국에서 활동할 때부터 이제 최고의 공격형 정글러라고 평가를 받았었는데 이번 대회에서는 되게 소극적인 챔피언이랑 플레이를 많이 보여줬습니다. 그 이유에 대해서 간단히 좀 생각을 말씀해 주세요.
저희 팀 자체가 초반에 무난하게 넘기고 좀 한타를 보는 성향이 짙은데 그래가지고 저희가 스카너나 그라가스 같은 챔피언을 좋아하거든요. 저희 중국 선수들이. 그래가지고 팀에 맞춰주면서 그런 챔피언을 뽑은 거고요. 이번에는 좀 제가 공격적으로 하고 싶다 해가지고 앨리스를 뽑게 됐어요.
Our team likes to focus on the late game, just like farm early, mid game, and then focus on the late team game. So that's why I try to pick like champions like Skarner and other like very solid champions. But for this game, I just told my team that I want to pick my old like aggressive play style, and that's how I picked Elise.
And that worked super well for you guys. Finally, from 0-2 to 1-2, that means you guys still have a future in this group. And you, Kakao, you finally made it to the World Championship. What are your thoughts on how this group is going to progress in your chances?
2패를 안고 시작했음에도 불구하고 1승 함으로써 이제 8강에 이제 살짝 희망이 보이기 시작했는데 되게 어렵게 진출한 월드 챔피언십 만큼 좀 앞으로에 대해서 어떻게 이제 진행할 예정인지 말씀해 주세요.
어제 푸나틱을 AHQ가 잡아줬잖아요. 그래가지고 저희가 AHQ를 이기고 푸나틱이랑 한 번 더 해서 이기면 저희가 올라갈 수 있다는 희망을 가지고 AHQ 턴에 임했거든요. 그래가지고 저희가 오늘 이겨가지고 다음 경기에도 꼭 이겨서 8강 올라갈 수 있을 것 같아요.
So since AHQ beat Fnatic yesterday, I thought if we beat Fnatic today, there would be a little bit of hope for us to go to the quarterfinals. So since we won today, we're going to try hard to win our remaining games.
Well, you won one here already. Thank you very much, Kakao, and congratulations. As for us, we're going to go back over to our guys and our dudes over at the desk.
Thank you, Shox. A necessary win there for IG in order to keep their quarterfinal hopes alive. Coming to you first, Yamato. Let's take a look at the steps they took to ensure a victory here in this game.
I feel like what I thought they would do was play around Rookie, play around Zetai, but they took the different approach to kind of cover up their weakness in the bot lane. Pick one of the strongest bot lanes in the game, and the Shen and the Lees kind of set them up for success.
Well, that said, they didn't fully cover their weaknesses, right? Because at that crucial Baron steal, there's really not an excuse to lose a Baron when you have the Ren stacks on there from the Kalista. He seemed to not know the right calculation, allowed Mountain to sneak that smite in there, and that's what nearly lost them that game. Not to mention he just team fought very poorly in the ensuing fight afterward.
He didn't even ult.
Yeah, he didn't even ult.
And he didn't ult. So still mechanical misplays there on the side of IG. We saw some as well, though, for AHQ. One crucial one being the early QSS on the Shen taunt, which wasn't even flash. Crumbs, I know you have a bone to pick there.
I mean, that's the kind of stuff that you're not allowed to happen. Like, you cannot make those mistakes when you are playing a hyper carry. Like, you are the sole damage of your team when you are built around you. You have Maokai, Rexa who are building tank. You know, you're eventually going to get a Zeke's Herald. When you put so much to one specific person, maybe the pressure gets to you and you're unable to perform at the level that you have to. I mean, a play like that, it's actually better. Instead of flashing out of the taunt, you get taunted, QSS, flash out, all of a sudden, Shen's in a really poor position. You mow him down, and then you win the fight because of that. But that just didn't happen at all. And even during the laning phase, I really didn't enjoy watching AHQ just lose lanes kind of passively.
All right, well, so with this game, we have multiple teams at 1 and 2 now, both AHQ and IG. We'll see what happens in the Cloud9 versus Fnatic game, but it makes this group very interesting. And so given the fact that these two teams that just played might be in a race against each other to move up that ladder and fight for the second spot in the game, what do they learn from this game looking into their rematch that'll come next week?
Well, I think that next week, actually, all that we've learned this week is going to be useless. I agree. I think it's going to be even wilder, and trying to predict what's going to happen, I think they're going to even come up with new metas to the whole thing, because I think the interview was very telling as to the mentality that IG had. I mean, we're sitting here criticizing Kid and Kitties, all right, ignore them, like play around your other strengths. They're doing the opposite. They don't even see it that way. They just see it as, let's help them even further. And obviously, it's a nice approach, but we were wrong in that, and it's cool to see it come to fruition like that.
And coming into this, no one really knew what 518 was, right? We've seen all these teams sort of suss out the patch, suss out each other's strengths on this patch. But now, going into the second round robin, you've got several days to actually buckle down, really look at the film, and start preparing new picks and counter picks. So I'm not sure it's going to make a big difference, what we saw this last week.
I feel as well, speaking of AHQ, in this particular game, they didn't really give Ziv that much responsibility. I think they should have given him more responsibility. The Maokai, it's a very generic pick. You can't really do bad or good. It's like, Maokai does what Maokai always does.
Especially given his past performances so far in Worlds, you would expect him to be able to perform on a slightly more diverse champion. Well, in just a few minutes, Cloud9 will go up against Europe's #1 squad, Fnatic. So, again, the question is, EU got the better of NA last time, OG versus TSM, but this time around, who's greater, EU or NA? Crumbs, we're starting with you.
I'm going with Cloud9, and that's not because pride or whatever. I actually looked at it, and in the first 2 games that Fnatic had, there was a key trait that was they're really good at punishing the strength of a team. So in the game against IG, they shut down Zitai with the Shen, with the counter pick in the top lane. Then the game that they had against was it AHQ? Yes, they were very good at shutting down their strengths again. So with Forbidden really snowballing off the mid lane, it was very impressive. But they're not that good at punishing the weaknesses of a team. So when Cloud9 played against AHQ, they shut down Mountain with the bans, put him on Rengar, bam, game's over. When Cloud9 played against IG, at 13 minutes, they had the tower and a 30 CS lead in the bot lane. At 13 minutes, with Fnatic versus IG, they didn't even have first blood. CS was even, and they only got the kill with a TP play at 14. Like, they really need to step up their game in punishing the weakness and really being able to take an advantage off the weakness of Cloud9, which at the moment is balls. But Huni, in the 2 victories from Fnatic, didn't really have a big impact. 1 victory, by the way.
All right, moving on. Monte Cristo.
I agree with some of what Crum said, but I think this is the game where we see the problems with Cloud9's group push, fast push strategy. Get wave clear if you're a Fnatic, and then pick a strong split pusher. When they group, you punish them by splitting in the side lanes. Fnatic's the team that can do that. This is where I think Fnatic wins.
All right, and finally, Yamato.
I have to say that I'm going to go with Fnatic simply because in the past they've shown they're really good at bouncing back. I think the game against AHQ, they had a good advantage, but it was very sloppy play that kind of threw it away.
All right, there you have it. The battle for the Atlantic gets underway in just a few minutes, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
But right now, obviously, if IG wins, they need to win. They would be 0-3.
Fed's called use double knockout after the gravity field. Top from the tie. Mountain goes down. Ziv is low. He will fall as well. Fed's call's good, but the tower needs to go down. Kitties pops back out. Tower will fall. Now IG will rush in. Ziv tank it up at the front line. Mountain's going to dive in. Paradox. Oh my God, he's stolen. And Mountain's against it. He might get away. And there's a double kill now.
Kitties is the one that secures the kill. AHQ are in full retreat. They managed to take down Ziv. Albus follows shortly thereafter. Invictus Gaming, they will pick up their first victory against AHQ.